والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. نعم، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير حدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. كيف حالكم جميعا يا أيها الإخوة والأخوات, oh brothers and sisters from Islam, on this beautiful day bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, we would like to, inshallah ta'ala, speak on an issue that in this society, why is the thought of marriage, the thought of nikah, has been made so unappealing? Why do people run away from that thought? Why is it so unattractive to be married nowadays? And there is no one answer, so to speak. That's not what I'm going to be addressing, giving you a one answer type thing. But there are multiple components that contribute to the marriage institution itself and why people don't want to be married. There are multiple components, all right? And that would take classes on classes to really get to just the bottom of it. And statistically speaking, they have did back in 2016, I believe, they did a case study on the urban communities in regards to marriage. And what they looked at was the single couples who have never been married before, ever, whether male or female. And interestingly enough, they were saying that as among the females who have never been married before, they had a high percentage of least wanting to be married once in their lifetime, least wanting to explore marriage. And they was talking about the men, single as well as open to the idea. As far as the toll they did on the people or the couples that were married before and might have been divorced, they found that from among the women don't want to really remarry. Now, she's not going to cut off love totally, but she don't want to jump in. They found that it was a high percentage of women who have been divorced before don't want to jump in. And there's multiple reasons for that. But they mentioned that also, they said that the men who have been divorced, they're open to the idea of remarrying again. Remember, the things about statistics is that none of this is not 100% accurate. It's just a case study. And they go around and they do their numbers and their data and they make the analysis based off the questions they ask and so forth. But still, nonetheless, the main thing about marriage that I think a lot of us, and even myself as practicing Islam, I realize that it's about commitment. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges in regards to marriage, is that it's about commitment, being committed to another party, being committed to someone. You understand? Having to show up for that person whether you want to or not. Being dedicated to that one person, right? It can drain your energy, it can so forth and so on. But commitment is a huge responsibility that a lot of people nowadays lack. And they don't understand a part of being committed to something, it has a lot of things intact or entails with it. And when you go back to the deen, and I'm talking to Muslims obviously, so when you go back to the deen, Allah Jalla wa Ala tells us about characteristics of the believers. And he constantly mentions a major theme. And that is that when it comes to their amanat, they fulfill them. When it comes to their trust, they fulfill them. When it comes to their ahd, their contracts, they fulfill them. This is extremely important. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. O you who believe, fulfill your contract. And no doubt we know in Islam the word nikah have two meanings. One is jima' and one is al-aqd. Okay? So when we talk about nikah, we know one means to have relations with another person. That's one of the meanings that ulama mentioned linguistically. Another meaning for the word nikah is to have a aqd that's going to be between two people, a contract, right? So that contract, in order for it to be upheld, you have to fulfill the contract, right? You have to fulfill the conditions of that contract. This brings about responsibility, right? And makes a person responsible. A lot of individuals lack that responsibility. A lot of individuals lacks the necessary tools that they're supposed to have. So if you're not being trustworthy within yourself, you're not already working on yourself, you're not trying to be an honorable person on yourself, why would you want to take on being honest to someone else? Because that's normally what it's about. It's about that commitment. And people run away from commitment nowadays. People don't want to work. People don't want to put in the work. People want everything to happen to them so fast. There are other components such as the illusion of other options, because we have social media that made the world small, and because, you know, it's so easy for us to say, you know what, I'm done with this. I don't have to deal with you. I don't have lack of patience. I can go over here, because there is about at least 5 to 10 men that's in my inbox calling me beautiful every day. And the fellas, okay, I can, you know, there's so many different women, many fish in the sea that I can actually look for. All of these things present challenges, but not for the believing man. And this is important, because the believing man is already someone who is trustworthy. The believing man is already someone who is accountable. The believing man is already someone who is responsible. The believing man already understands the importance of commitment, because the believing man prays 5 times a day. That's a commitment. You understand? That's a responsibility. You're responsible to pray 5 times a day, right? Fajr in the morning, right? That's a commitment. Whether you understand it or not, it's also a discipline. So the believing man have these qualities to understand that. So he has no problem taking on a marriage, because he understands what it entails. He knows that this person he's committed to in life. Do you understand? He's going to share whatever comes along with it. The responsibility, the burden, he signed up for that. So he understands that the institution of marriage makes the commitment between these two people that much beautiful. But a person who is irresponsible, a person who doesn't have no discipline, a person who don't hold himself in any accountability, whether male or female, and not worrying about being committed to someone else. That's one of the biggest challenges I see why marriage nowadays is unappealing. You mean I gotta sign up to deal with this person? What if I don't want to deal with the person? What if we can't get along? What if I don't agree with them? I cannot just walk away. Do you understand? And this is why it's extremely important that you sisters, wallahi talahi wallahi, you sisters, you cannot allow yourself to be subjected to that. Okay? Yes, you have emotions, you have feelings, you be attracted, we understand. But you cannot allow yourself to deal with a man who is not your husband. It's important you understand this, because you get the bad end of the stick every time. And you don't realize it, because if that man feel the need that there is no commitment between you and him, there is no responsibility. He doesn't have to pay any of your debts. He doesn't have to take any responsibility. Something happened to you, there's none of that. And all he have to do is say at the end of the day, this was just fun. You know, there was no commitment between us two. This was just fun. Likewise, you females that get involved with men and you tell the same thing, you know, it's just fun. That's you know, I don't agree with that concept. Not because of a religious point of view, just it doesn't make sense. I mean, even if you take Islam out of the equation, there is no, what is that? Two people get together. We both got emotions, we get involved. Okay. What happens if we keep dealing with each other? What happens? Feelings are going to get involved, correct? Henceforth, feelings are already involved, because first it starts off infatuation, first it starts off attraction leads to infatuation, then it leads to passion, then it leads to more time y'all have together, which brings in emotions and energies that y'all sharing with each other, right? All of that. Somebody's going to fall for the other, maybe faster than the other one. That normally happens, right? Now what happens? What do we do with this? Okay? We calling ourselves an item. We calling ourselves, you know, we don't put the titles on it. And this is all an illusion from the shaitan. Because you're thinking, okay, as long as I don't call you my boyfriend, as long as you don't call me your girlfriend, You understand what I'm saying? You know, as long as you don't call me your boyfriend, and as long as I don't call you my girlfriend, or as long as I don't call you my woman, or this and that, we are okay. We're just buddies. And that concept is very detrimental. Because not only, woman, you can have a child by this man. Quickly you can have a child by this man. Right? That's true. What's going to happen then? Right? And then we have all of the memes, all the people mad because they're deadbeat fathers. 9 times out of 10, the man was irresponsible in the way that y'all entered the relationship. He didn't want no commitment with you from the door. What makes you think he now wants to have a commitment with you with a child? It doesn't make any sense. He didn't want no commitment with you from the door. He already showed you where he was at. I don't want to be married to you. I want to find all of the excuses in the world why I don't want to marry you. And this is another bad problem that we see. A lot of people get together and they say, well, see how you talk? See how you need to get yourself together? That's why we can't get married. You see how you behave? But you can lay down with me. 5 times out of a week. 3 times out of a week, you can lay down with me. I'm good enough for you to lay down with me, but I'm not good enough for you to marry me. Because of my mouth might be out of control. Or because of my attitude might be this way. But something about me, even with all of those characteristics, you're still coming back to have pleasure with me. So this is why it's important that you understand that marriage is not a boring ruling that Allah has laid down. It's really to preserve your honor. That's what it's for. Marriage is to preserve your honor. You want that man to be committed. You want that woman to be committed. You want to show responsibility between each other. And it's a beautiful thing when you know that you're in this world with someone else. Do you understand? This is why we find narrations and athars that mention whenever you find 2 people having love for each other, they should get married. Not just about the private parts being protected, but in the simple fact that they can now express that commitment to one another. They can now be dedicated. And it's draining, brothers and sisters, to be married to someone and then get divorced the next day or the next month or 2 months. For female brothers, they take it more serious than the man. All right? Because there's psychological effects involved in that stuff. Because they look inwardly. Was it something wrong? Was it something wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Why this and that? And it takes a while to get over that type of stuff. So when you find, when we mentioned earlier how the statistics mean a divorced woman can be what? She don't like the idea of getting married again. You know what she had to go through the first time to get married? To build herself up to get married to this person? And it didn't work out, regardless if she allowed her guardian to pick a good spouse. Regardless if she was correctly sound on her own, as far as her belief, her spirituality, and as far as her character. Regardless of all of that, she still felt as though she gave part of herself to another person and she dedicated herself with her energy. That didn't work out. Now she feels turned off completely from the thought of marriage. Now she might get involved with someone, but she ain't going to be so quick to get married to someone. And this opened up a whole lot of worms, and it destroys a lot. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, allow us to realize what Islam has done for us. Get married. Get married. But before you get married, understand responsibility. Understand accountability. You're supposed to be doing that as a believer with yourself anyway. Right? You and I are supposed to be working on ourselves anyway, whether we with someone or not with someone. That's just normal. You're supposed to do that anyway. What you think you're doing 5 prayers a day for? None of the 5 prayers benefit Allah whatsoever. There is not one prayer that you and I do that benefits Allah. Not one. There's no act of ibadah that we can do that benefits Allah. So the prayer and the acts of ibadah is for us. It's benefiting us. So if you're working on yourself constantly, night and day, then when you get involved with someone, then you have to understand that you're dealing with a total another human being who have different life challenges as well, who have different understanding. And this is why one of the main components of a relationship, no matter it's romantic or not, is communication. And a lot of brothers and sisters do not know how to communicate. I tell you, I'll be the first one. I have lacked throughout years of understanding effective communication. Not having effective communication. Not knowing how to comprehend what the other person is actually saying. Not making sure that we're disagreeing because we're saying it in a different way, but we're actually agreeing. You understand? Not having that awareness of the other person's emotion. Awareness of how the other person think. All of this stuff comes a problem. And so then we become, as we say, toxic. No, the toxic part isn't the fact that you don't have emotional intelligence or effective communication. The toxic part isn't that. The toxic part is that you know that there's problems with you, but you don't want to work on them. So you bring those problems with no actually idea or plan to work them out, to fix them, and then you carry them on to the next person. So that makes it toxic because they still have problems that they didn't address. You have problems you didn't address. Then when y'all get together collectively, y'all both have problems that y'all brought about together that y'all didn't address. And now that whole thing is explosive and it becomes toxic because this is how you chose to deal with it. So if you be honest with yourself and you begin, you can actually realize that marriage is more about a commitment. And if you don't want to make a commitment, then that speaks more so to you. Don't get involved with anyone. Don't get involved with anyone. If you ain't going to sign up for a commitment, to realize that that person, and this is why in Islam, which is a misunderstanding, Islam, marriage is to death. Okay? A lot of people have a misunderstanding of that. The ultimate objective when you get married, yes, is to death. Even though we don't say it like the Christians, to death do us part. Yeah, we don't say that. It's still understood that you're to be together until death. Divorce only been granted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though he don't like it. It been granted so that oppression wouldn't happen. That's what that was for. So that a man wouldn't oppress a woman and hold her in suspension if he does not want anything to deal with that woman. Do you understand? And a lot of the different things that used to happen. But divorce wasn't something that was sought after. It wasn't a goal. You don't seek out. And this is why you see Allah Jalla wa'ala go through very lengths for us to stay together, which is called iddah period. A lot of people don't understand the iddah period. What is a waiting period? What are you waiting for? Right? So the iddah period covers multiple reasons. Right? And one of those things of the iddah period that the ulama mentioned is that it allows a time for both the man and the woman during that period to reconcile. Do you understand? To reconcile between each other. And this is why Allah has made it extremely hard. This is why a man can only divorce a woman 3 times. And this is why iddah, right? And this is why on that third divorce, which they call the final irrevocable divorce, she has to remarry someone totally over. And they have to have a real marriage, and that person has to divorce her for you to be eligible again for that person, right? Because you have multiple times to reconcile. And reconcile is always the goal. It's always the goal and the objective. I'm only mentioning this not to seem to go all over the place, just to show you how Islam have shown the utmost care for preserving the marriage between two people. You understand? Preserving the marriage. Another thing that we need to understand is when we have children, a lot of us might be in our 40s or 30s, and we might have children that are teenagers, right? I advise the brothers and the sisters, because I'm talking to believers now, inshallah, that we encourage our children to get married. If you see that your son is attracting to other females, and you see that your daughter is attracted to a male, don't be naive. Wallahi tallahi, don't be naive. You can't be with them every second. You can't be with them every day. You already know how it is. You know what society we live in. Don't be naive. Marry them off. And you have people arguing with you today, talking about, I'm not going to marry them off. You know why? The main thing a lot of people say, I'm not going to marry. Well, they're just too young to get married. It's so much responsibility. That's the point. That's the point. That's the point. Because if you're teaching them properly, then you want him to know that you value a woman. And a part of valuing that woman is that you uphold her honor. And a part of upholding her honor is that you be committed to that woman. Because if a child comes from this relationship between you and her, then you are responsible not only for her, but for the child as well. So you get married and you encourage the children to get married. Because now they would take it more than just, oh, we're just getting our thing off. You understand? More than just, that's a part of the enjoyment of marriage. You know what I'm saying? But they don't want to do that. And we are responsible for that because we have teenage kids. And we allow the teenage kids to go out and have sex and then have children. It's just been a cycle on and on and on. No movement or encouragement of getting married. No being strict because of the simple fact of, no, well, how are you going to provide for her? That's a question. Or where y'all going to live at? That's a question, right? Why is this is that? Well, that's a question, right? But Even if your son doesn't have a home but your home. Even if your daughter doesn't have a home but your home. Wouldn't you rather her have a husband, someone who's going to be dedicated to her, and if she do have a baby, the baby is not going to be out of wedlock, and they can work towards a realistic goal of getting a home, you know, when we graduate, or so forth like that. They can put together and work towards something, right? Also, what you don't realize what marriage does, marriage now teaches both of not only the woman, your daughter honors being upheld, but it also teaches the son not to be a player. Do you understand? Because he realized when I get involved with a woman, I have to be committed to that woman. All right? So it doesn't make sense for me to jump from one woman to another woman with no commitment, because that's not honoring the woman, that's dishonoring her. Do you understand? That's no respect for a woman. I can't tell a woman I love you. I can't tell a woman I'm really feeling you and all of that, and at the same time I'm just going to disparage you. You can't do that. All right? And I know a lot of you brothers might say, bro, you champion the woman a little bit too hard. It's not about championing the woman a little bit too hard. Championing the woman is championing yourself. You come from a woman. Come on, man. Stop the nonsense. Stop the nonsense. I ain't trying to get no brownie point with no females. I'm just trying to let you know the truth. This is why the Prophet ﷺ was so stern on making sure you uphold the woman. I mean, how you going to, it just don't make sense. How you going to tarnish a woman, right? And you come from a woman. Men are crazy these days, man. I want to argue with the woman. I'm going to call her all types of names, but you can't live without her, right? You keep dealing with the woman, this and that. You can't get rid of the woman. But you mad at her because you felt short in whatever you fell short in. No, she's already going to fall short. The Prophet already told you she come from a bent rib. What part you didn't understand? You don't know the fiqh? She's already going to fall short. That's in her makeup. That's her genetic makeup. You as a man, because Allah didn't make you so emotionally invested like he made a woman, you as a man should be able to stand apart from that. And you should be able to see that. No, you're not going to break up and break down because the woman seems to have a sharp tongue. You're going to do what the Prophet ﷺ advised that companion to do. He said, Ya Rasulullah, my wife, she has a sharp tongue with me. The Prophet ﷺ said, Min aina antum. He says, Min aina antum min istighfar. He says, where are you from seeking forgiveness? And I kept wondering, why would the Prophet ﷺ tell this man to seek forgiveness and his wife sitting there being sharp tongue with him? Right? Because the Prophet ﷺ is using hikmah. If you wanted your family to be good with you, then have your rectification with Allah. Have your, be your Islam with Allah. Then Allah will help you with the challenges of your wife, with the challenges of your family. Allah will help you in that case. So rectify that with your Lord. You might have fell short in something. You might have neglected to do something. And so your wife is being disobedient. And so your children is being disobedient. This is how the Salaf was, and this is how they look inwardly. Again, back to accountability, which also is included with commitment. The biggest challenge we have today, man, is that we are not committed people. And it's really a shame towards our iman. I'm not going to go too longer than this, but I really want us to think about that. Think about commitment. That's the problem why marriage is so unappealing to me nowadays. People don't want to be married, not because this person isn't pious. The truth is, when you look in the mirror and you think yourself is pious, right? Honestly, when you take that look in the mirror, what do you say? If you say to yourself, I'm a pious individual, right? Right? If you say that to yourself. Because what is piety? I don't know no person who is pious that's going to say that they're pious. That's number one. You won't find the pious calling themselves pious. I mean, it just doesn't work. I don't know no one that would do that, right? That's sincere. So you know that you're striving, and if you're striving to your utmost ability, which only thing Allah asks you for, Allah says, "Fattaqullah mastata'tum." Fear Allah much as you are able to, only according to your capability. If you are doing that, and you are working on yourself, you are offering your salat, you're guarding them, you're making sure you pray 5 times a day, not once, but 5 times a day. You're making sure you fast on the month of Ramadan. You're making sure that if you have the nasab, you're paying the zakat. You're making sure that you're doing what is necessary. This is all that's asked from you. If you are doing that, then you want to look for someone else who is doing that. If you are appealing and attracted to someone else who ain't doing that and falling short in that, then that person isn't for you. Do you understand that? And no, you can't change that person because that's not in your hands. That person isn't for you. If you a person who prayed 5 times a day and that person doesn't pray 5 times a day, y'all not a match. Do you understand? That's not a match. It's only a match if y'all both actually are what? Striving together. So how are you going to get involved with someone who is not doing that? This is why Allah said the men, the good, the tayyibun, the men who are good and wholesome are for the women who is tayyib. And the woman who is tayyib is also good for the women, for the men who are tayyib. So you're not going to sit there and say, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm doing all of this striving, and I'm going to go and look out for someone who's not striving, who has a bad character. And then I'm going to get mad and say, you see how all these women are? These women, you see, man, they crazy, they backwards. No, brother, you was crazy. You was crazy because you even was attracted to that in the first place. And you don't want to admit it that you really was crazy. You was attracted to something. Physically, you was attracted to it, and you knew she was that way. So make sure when you look in that mirror, you be truthful to yourself. Be committed. Be committed. That's the big challenge of our marriage today. We are not committed to one another. Do you understand? I don't care when you look on the TV. I don't care when you look on social media. I don't care when you read the tabloids. I don't care when you look here or look there. Who's doing what in a relationship? What's going on in that relationship? What about you? Your relationship with your Lord, your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your family. What about you? I don't care about everyone else. What are you doing that make you committed to the person you're with? And if you are truthful in that, your marriage stands a chance. Your marriage don't stand a chance if you're sitting there entertaining everything else but that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us strong, inshallah ta'ala, and to give us the best understanding, and to emulate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to emulate the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that anything we said that was incorrect, it's from ourselves. The shaitan, whatever said is correct, it's from Allah jalla wa ala. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.